Hi guys, it's Bianca from the B side, and today I'm interviewing Tommy Bell, and we're going to be talking about his new EP, Locked and Loaded.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so my first question for you is how did you even get started in making music?
Ooh, making music. I started writing my own stuff probably when I was a senior in high school. I had picked up the bass my sophomore year. It was the first real instrument I started playing. From there, I started to learn guitar here and there, and then picking up instruments here and there, trying to learn them, knowing little things like knowing how to play a 4/4 beat on the drums and then certain chords on piano. And that's basically how I got started. And then for this specific project, I was doing it for my capstone for our major. Um, and yeah, I just started working with little bits and pieces of songs I had riffs for that I had recorded in my phone to save for later. So I would take those little bits and pieces, be like, okay, I like this one. Let me stretch it out into a full song. And then I would go from there, write out a whole instrumentation part. And then from there, I would do lyrics and melody because I'm backwards from most people. A lot of people do the melody first and then come up with the chords behind it. Backwards. I'm different. I like to record a demo of the song, listen to it a bunch of times, and come up with lyrics and a melody from there. So that's how I got started with this specific project.
Okay, sweet. So, what were your or who was your biggest inspiration? I know you like rock music, so who are your biggest inspirations in the music that you make?
Well, my biggest inspiration of all time is hands down the Beatles. If it wasn't for the Beatles, I would have never gotten into music at all. Um, you can't really hear Beatles inspiration in my music because my music is more hard rock, but they're my biggest inspiration. As for who my music sounds like, I've been told it sounds like Guns N' Roses, Foo Fighters, a little bit of the Ramones. Someone even told me that my vocals sound like Steppenwolf, which I was shocked by because I've never heard that comparison before. Um, but yeah, just like a lot of hard rock and punk influences in my music is what I both have been told it sounds like and what I try to make it sound like. And also grunge. I have one song called Eighth Ave that the chorus riff that I wrote, I thought had like a very grunge feel to it. And yeah, those are my inspirations for this EP.
Okay, sweet. So, let's get started with like going down like your EP, and you were just talking about Eighth Ave. So, where did you get the name for that song? I'm interested in that.
I wonder why you are. So, I am currently in the studio where I recorded just about the whole EP. It's called Chromatic Sound Recording Studios in Galloway, New Jersey. Um, and so me and my buddy Ryan Gattini, who plays guitar on the song, we both co-wrote the instrumentation together. He did probably 85% of the instrumentation for that song. I mainly came up with that one chorus riff, and then he did basically everything else around that. And so one day, me, him, and the drummer, Jake Alfo, we were rehearsing in the live room right back there. And I recorded a demo on my phone just to listen to, because as I said before, I like to record the instruments fully before I go into lyrics and melody. So I recorded it on my phone, and iPhone does this new thing where you record a voice memo and it automatically names it where you were at. And so when I clicked stop recording, it named it 8th Ave because
Okay.
I'm currently on 8th Avenue in Galloway. And I was like, 8th Ave, I kind of dig that for the name. It has nothing to do with the song. Um, but I liked the name. I thought it fit. it was the working title, and then I was like, you know what, it's growing on me, so I kept it, and so that's where the title came from for that song.
That's pretty cool. All right.
Yeah, it's a
So
fun song.
yeah. So okay. So Locked and Loaded. Is there a reason why you chose that specific song to be also the name of your EP or
Now the thing with that is, I probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I was in a group with people. We were playing music, and they were trying to think of, a band name, and I wanted to name it Locked and Loaded,
okay.
but that never came to fruition. The band never really happened. And just ever since then, I've liked the name Locked and Loaded, uh, because like a lot of people for rock and roll will abbreviate it R&R, rock and roll. And so Locked and Loaded, I was able to abbreviate L&L. So
Right.
it's got like a cool little abbreviation. It's got a cool little catch to it. Everyone's heard the term locked and loaded. And instead of spelling it locked and A-N-D loaded, it's just locked and apostrophe loaded, kind of like Guns and Roses. So that's basically where the term locked and loaded came from.
Hmm.
Um, I actually had the name picked out for the EP
Oh,
before the song. I had the song written. The song Locked and Loaded was the earliest song I had written for this EP. I recorded that, I want to say, a year and a half ago.
oh wow, okay.
Not fully recorded. I fully wrote it about a year and a half ago, minus the lyrics and melody. And I had it sitting around, and I came back to it probably a month before I was finished recording. I was like, you know what? I want to add this to the EP. And I was like, what do I want to name it? And I was like, you know what? I'll just name it Locked and Loaded after the title track. And so from there, I got the instrumentation for it, and I wrote the lyrics, the melody, threw in the term locked and loaded during the chorus, and that's how that got there. So, yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so now the 6/8 ballad. What is that about?
Oh, the 6/8 ballad, it's a love song, but
Okay.
it's a parody of like 50s love songs.
Okay.
So I first started writing that last year, the beginning of last year, beginning of 2020, before everything went down the toilet. Um, it started off with something I was playing on guitar, which was I was just doing like little arpeggios of a G major chord, then going to C major, D minor, standard 1 4 5, and it was in the timing of 6/8, which a lot of ballad songs from the 1950s were written in 6/8.
Right.
And it's funny because I told my friend, I was like, hey, I'm writing this one 50s ballad parody song. And he's like, is it in 6/8 timing? I was like, call it the 6/8 ballad. And he started cracking up when I said that. And so that's where the instrumentation came from. That's one of the two songs where I played everything. I programmed the drums, did the piano, bass, vocals, percussion, all the fun stuff. Um, and then the lyrics are mainly about this one girl who I had feelings for, I liked a lot. And that was that song I fully wrote probably, I'm gonna say by mid-March of last year. The whole song was completely written and just needed to be recorded. So I was like, all right, I'll put it on this EP for some diversity because all the three other songs I have are pretty upbeat hard rock songs. So I was like, I'll throw in a soft, slow ballad type song, love song, because I'm just a ooey gooey lovey person, and
Well, so
I'm sure you
why
can
did
tell.
you why is it a why do you say like a parody of a 50s love song?
So it's like I'm sure you've listened to it a bunch of times, and so it starts off the beginning of the song starts off with like a record scratch. So it sounds like you just put down a record on a record player. And it's a parody, as in it's very cheesy,
Mhm.
like how 1950s ballad songs are cheesy.
Right.
So the melody, it's not like a crazy vocal melody, it's like a very almost monotone thing for the verses. And then the choruses, I did something I loved doing back in the 50s and 60s. I incorporated a second language into it. So during the choruses, I'm actually singing in Italian,
Nice.
um, which again was a very popular thing for the 1950s. I don't know why. And so it's it's like a stereotypical 1950s type of ballad. It's got um the constant piano in the background playing all the quarter notes. So the whole song the piano is playing quarter notes, just a little ding 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 the whole time. It's a
Right.
145, which was every single pop song in the 1950s.
Mm,
Johnny B. Good, everything. It was every single pop song in the 50s.
mm,
And it's the drums, a standard rim, snare, kick, little bit of fills during the choruses. Um, but it's just a very stereotypical 50s ballad type song,
mm.
um, with my own kind of spin on it. And yeah, that's what I mean by parody song. Like it's I do mean like, most of it,
Mhm.
but the lyrics are very cheesy,
Right.
like a 50s ballad song is, because ballad songs from the 50s were very, very cheesy.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's basically what I meant by parody song.
Okay. So, coming off from that very lovely slow song, the next one is Bitch. What's with the title? Who are you talking about if you're comfortable talking about that?
Well, I didn't write that song.
Okay.
That's a Rolling Stones song. It's a
Okay.
Rolling Stones song.
Okay. Okay.
However, I did have someone
In
whom
mind.
I say I had someone in mind when I was recording the vocals for it.
Mhm.
They were definitely in my head thinking about
Is
them.
that why you chose that song to cover?
Not specifically, that's part of the reason, but one of the main reasons I chose it is because I wanted to have a song that had horns in it. And the song Bitch has a really cool trumpet and saxophone line that follow the main guitar bass riff. So that's one of the main reasons I chose it. The lyrical meaning was it was there. Um, and so, you know, it's got the lyrics in it that I think sums up life best for those of us who are struggling with some things. Uh, the lyric is sometimes love, or no, that's not it. I'm misquoting the song. My bad. It must be love. It's a bitch.
Mhm.
Love is a bitch. It
Yeah.
can be until you find the right person.
Right.
Um, and so I had a specific person in my head while I was recording the vocals for the song. She wouldn't leave my head. It was very annoying.
Mm.
But there was definitely someone in mind when I recorded that.
Okay.
But the reason I chose the song, that's part of it because of that girl.
Mhm.
But also because it has the killer horn line, an awesome guitar riff, and it's probably one of my favorite Stone songs.
Okay. Sweet. So, is there a specific like did you think of the lineup in a specific way? Is it there a reason why you lined it up like this or was it random?
The lineup, as in people who played on the song, or the track
No,
list.
as in like the track list.
Um, so I knew that I wanted to have Eighth Ave be the opener.
Okay.
I knew that from the start because we had done this cool drum intro for it. Which actually, fun fact, that drum intro wasn't there when we recorded it. That drum intro was a section taken out of the middle of the song that I had myself went through chopped it up, copy and pasted it, put it in the beginning of the song,
Okay.
and it goes into the verse, and it's pretty cool. It sounds great. So I knew I wanted to start with that song, and then I knew I wanted to end with Bitch. Um, Now, as for the middle two, I just thought it flowed a lot better
Mhm.
having Locked and Loaded and then the 6/8 ballad. And
Okay.
so I made sure to put, when I talked to the guy who mixed and mastered it, Zach Brown, um, I made sure to tell him to leave like about a 5 second gap between Locked and Loaded and the 6/8 ballad. So that way it goes from like a nice upbeat song to like dead silence to like, slow the listener down for the next song to come. And then finish off with Bitch, which is a upbeat, fun, yay, payback song.
Right. Okay. So I do want to ask about your cover art because I think that's a really cool story. I kind of know already a little bit about it, but I want other people to kind of hear the story coming from you. So can you tell us a little bit more about your cover art? How did that happen?
So there is this gentleman who I found on Instagram. His name is, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce his last name correctly, but it's Timothy Lenore,
Mhm.
Lenior, I believe.
Okay.
Um, he has worked with some of my all-time favorite bands: Guns N' Roses, Metallica, the Rolling Stones. He's done things for the Ramones, designed T-shirts for the Beatles,
Oh, wow.
for Bravado, and he's a graphic designer. And so he would, for like Guns N' Roses and the Rolling Stones, he has designed lithographs. So like specialty tour date posters that are really cool, really great design. And I just messaged him on Instagram after I've been following him for about 2 years. And I was just like, hey, I'm recording my first EP. I'm a big fan of your work. Is there any way you could design my album cover?
Hmm.
And after some talking, he was like, he was excited for it. Um, and so the cover is a picture of me on the Atlantic City boardwalk,
Mhm.
but instead of like normal Tommy, I'm a skull, and it's like really cool. Um,
Yeah, it's awesome.
it
I'm glad
turned
I heard
out
about it. It was
great.
great. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. It was really
Like I had a high expectation for this guy because I was very familiar with his work, but
right.
he blew me out of the water with the finished product. It was unbelievable. He
Yeah.
really pulled through, and he designed something that is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and not many people can say, that they've had their cover art done by someone who's done so many done so much art for like other people that are with big names, like that's
Yeah,
great.
like these legendary. I had someone make my album cover who has made stuff for Guns N'
Yeah,
Roses
like
and
that's
the
crazy.
Rolling Stones. Like
Yeah,
that, just that alone is just awesome to be able to say.
that is crazy. I do want to ask about like your creative process a little more about like how like was there any challenges in the creative process of like writing songs, recording, especially because of COVID? Things are a lot harder to get into the studio and stuff now too. So, can you talk about any challenges you faced?
I don't know if you're ready for all the challenges I faced. But then again, they are challenges that every musician will face when it comes to writing and recording music.
Right.
So the earliest challenges I would have would be writing the songs.
Mhm.
Um, I have always been kind of mediocre when it came to writing melodies and lyrics. I'm not the best lyricist, not the best at writing melodies. So I would have the full songs written, instrumentation and all, and then it would take me so long to finally come up with lyrics or melody that I was like, whatever, that works for the song. So that's like that was the earliest hurdle I would focus or I would come across. From there, the two songs, Eighth Ave and Bitch, I have some friends playing on those songs. So my buddies Ryan Gattini and Jake Alpha, who I mentioned earlier, they play guitar and drums on Eighth Ave and Bitch. It was very hard to schedule time to practice with both of them because, three people who had jobs and I'm also in school. It was very difficult to come up with a rehearsal schedule for everyone. I didn't really have much of a problem scheduling wise when it came to the horn players because they just came into the studio. They didn't even need to practice it. They learned it by ear within like 20 minutes of recording it. They did a great job. But as far as scheduling with Jake and Ryan, it was a little difficult at times, but in the end we were able to do it. We were able to record it. Um as far as booking a studio, I was very lucky and very grateful that I had this place. It is a studio I helped build and design, so I'm able to use it whenever I want without, having to worry about how much it's going to cost because some studios do flat rates, some do
Yeah.
like hourly rates. So I was able to come in here for 12 hours a day to work on a song.
Wow.
Um and as long as it didn't, interfere with paid um, rehearsal times or paid studio recording times with this spot, I was able to come whenever. And so I didn't really face much problem with that.
Okay.
But definitely the scheduling to practice the songs and the hardship I was having with writing lyrics and a melody,
Mm.
those were probably my biggest obstacles when it
Okay.
came to this EP.
Well, do you have any advice for anyone starting to write music, especially people in school, college age musicians? Like, do you have any advice for them? How they can start? What happens if you get like writer's block or something?
So, okay, so I'll start with these starting to write music. Inspiration can hit at any time. Like you're practicing guitar or bass, you might come up with something you really like. So if you like it, just grab your phone, record that little bit. That's all you need to do. And then you could set it aside for months, years, however long you want. And just have like a little data bank of a bunch of songs and little snippets that you've recorded.
Mm.
And that's the best way to start writing a song, in my opinion, as you know, if you need to record something for a certain deadline, like I had to do for my capstone project, I was easily able to go back in the folder in my voice notes app and choose little bits and pieces. So do that and then learn your music theory. Um, that's one I would stress a lot. It's not always super important for things, but it's nice to know that like choruses always sound better when you start and end on the fifth.
Mm.
Um, it's good to know how to get back to the root note. If you're stuck somewhere, 251 is always a classic jazz way um, to go. So learn your music theory. It's not important that you need to know everything, but just learn little bits and pieces of it. Um, what was the other question you asked me?
I was asking you about writer's block, like if there's
Oh,
advice for that.
when it comes to writer's block, if you hit writer's block bad and you're just like, wow, I'm just like not doing anything productive. Best thing to do, put away, say you're writing lyrics. That's where I would get the most writer's block.
Mm.
If I started getting writer's block, I would put down my computer, phone, or pen and paper, wherever I was writing the lyrics. I'd put it down. I'd come back to it either a couple hours later or even a couple days later, because you're just going to strain yourself more and just get more aggravated if you try to push through that writer's block. Sometimes it may happen where you have bad writer's block, you're just sitting there like, I can't think of anything. And then it hits you and you come up with the perfect melody or perfect lyrics.
Right.
That's not always the case. And my opinion, the best thing to do is if you're getting a little stressed, step aside, take a break, take a breather, and come back to it when you're ready to.
Nice. That's good advice, actually. It's whenever I would write things, I'm kind of like the same as you. I would always write lyrics first, and like kind of the melody is kind of second for me. But I would get such bad writer's block, especially with lyrics, because I know for me, sometimes when I write things down, I'm like, oh, that's too cheesy, that's too stupid, that's too like I always get in my head like that, you know. So yeah, it's hard. I know a lot of like songwriting sometimes is this just doesn't come naturally to some people, but my last question for you is what are the next steps for you? What's going to happen next? You've released this EP and I'm already asking you, what are you thinking about? Are you even thinking about what's next yet or
So I don't really have much lined up. Um, the EP is currently out, so it is released.
Mhm.
You can stream it Spotify, Apple Music. It's on YouTube, Amazon Music, Google Play, everywhere basically. Um,
I'll be putting all the links in the bio everywhere so people can go right to it. So, yeah.
Thank
But
you.
continue.
Uh, I have some CDs coming. They'll
Oh,
be here in the beginning of May.
okay.
So if you'd like a CD, they're $5 plus $2 shipping. They're being professionally made, so they're not just like little CDs that I'm just like popping in my computer and burning myself and putting in like a little paper baggie. Um, I've already sold probably about half of the batch that I just ordered. Um, and I'm hoping to maybe do a couple shows
Yeah.
throughout
I was
the
going to ask you about that. I know COVID,
summer.
kind of thrown that out, a lot of like live shows and stuff. But now that things are going to start opening up again, people are getting vaccinated and stuff. Are you excited? Like, are you going to do a show? Like, are you thinking about
It's it's something I'm thinking about, but not putting too much thought into.
it? Mhm.
If if the pieces line up and something is offered to me, I'll try and work on it because then I would also have to put together a band,
Mm,
which I already have an idea of people who I would ask to do. And then again, I don't know if it would just be like a couple one-off shows or if I would try to pursue it further.
right.
Um, but again, it all depends on how everything's going with COVID
Mm,
and you know what falls into place.
yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tommy, for talking to me today. It was awesome talking to you and hearing all about your new EP. And
Thank you.
everyone, go stream it. Like Tommy said, it's on all platforms. I will be having all the links in the bio. And thank you again for supporting the B side and watching this video.